5G seems to be an easy scapegoat here.
There have been theories about telecommunications, conspiracy theories for years.
It could communicate with a phone, but it could also be enough that it could fry a person's brain.
There were 5G conspiracy theories before there was COVID.
That's how the coronavirus starts.
Are people dying? Yes. We have no idea what this can do.
I tell you how excited we are finally having you on.
Here I am.
I'm Lee Adams. Pandemic isn't over, and we're still going down the rabbit hole.
Oh shit. What kind of danger does that pose?
Since early March, when a lot of the shelter-in-place orders were beginning to be rolled out around the country, I've started noticing a theory that seems to have exploded across the internet, blaming the cellular technology 5G for the pandemic that we're all living through. I've seen maps online comparing the rollout of 5G towers with the spread of the virus, forums dedicated to the theorized dangers of 5G radiation, and even celebrities circulating some of these theories online. And all of this online activity has pushed some people to the point of vandalizing and burning down 5G towers in the real world.
Flames consume a cellular tower last Friday, the first of 7 such fires in Quebec.
And in a moment where we still don't seem to have any more answers than we did the last time I fell down this rabbit hole, I'm right back in the barn, right back with individuals from across the internet, and hopefully we'll understand what, if any, relationship exists between 5G and COVID-19.
I'm Misha Dolla, professor here at King's College in London. I have co-founded a lot of industry standards, worked for a big operator for quite a few years.
What exactly is 5G?
So 5G is, as you can guess already, our next generation telco technology. And in 5G, what we will have better or more is data. So the data rate will just be multiplied by a factor of 10.
So my name's Josh Smith. I'm a senior researcher at the Centre for the Analysis of Social Media at Demos, which is a think tank in the UK. We've been studying social media and the kind of political and social movements that have been going on it.
And having like a very cursory knowledge of what 5G is, I'm not really understanding how radiation from cell towers has anything to do with the pandemic.
So I think 5G and COVID-19, there's a number of striking things, kind of similarities there, right? They're both completely invisible to the naked eye. They're both ubiquitous. They're everywhere, or at least they're going to be everywhere in 5G's case.
They feel like they're everywhere.
Exactly. And they're really, really only properly understood by a small minority. So I think all of this makes it really irresistible for people who are looking for a kind of simple explanation for why this kind of chaotic, quite scary pandemic is going on.
My name's Thanos. I'm 37. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. Up until 2 weeks ago, I was a security instructor, which works under Victoria Police. I created a movement about 7 weeks ago about the corruption and the lies that's going on in the world. In January, when all the coronavirus stuff was going around, that's what first piqued my interest. Wuhan was actually a test site for the first implemented to its full extent of the way it works, 5G network. And then I asked myself the question, I said, I'll have a look what the symptoms of radiation poisoning are. There's something called radiation-induced pneumonia, which is caused from radiation which inflames the lungs.
5G attaches to the air atoms, okay, because it's a microwave radiation. It attaches to the air atoms. You breathe it in with the air. That's how the corona starts.
When I was in Florence, I began to feel very ill. There's 5 new 5G towers. They dug up the streets and laid the fiber optics while everyone was, at home, muted. I was surprised they didn't put blindfolds on.
Do you think it was a hoax or it was a ploy to keep people inside?
I think, yes, the initial phases were escalated to keep people quiet, Are people dying? Yes. Why? I think they're testing it. That's my theory. I think they're testing it. We have no idea what this can do.
My name is David Carpenter. I'm a public health physician. I'm a graduate of Harvard Medical School. I got involved in the whole issue of electromagnetic fields, of which 5G is one.
Is there any connection from your perspective between 5G and this pandemic?
Absolutely not. People that have been saying, well, Wuhan had a lot of 5G, therefore it generated the COVID-19. There's absolutely no basis for that whatsoever. One of the issues is, does radio frequency irradiation affect the immune system? Because anything that affects the immune system can clearly affect your resistance to a viral infection. I think the evidence is that it has no effect on the immune system at all, or none that has really been clearly demonstrated. 5G in the gigahertz range doesn't penetrate the body, or it doesn't go through a window, it doesn't go through a wall of a house, whereas 4G does. I should say at this point, though, one of the big problems with 5G is there's almost no research on it. Nobody's been exposed for it for a long enough time for us to know whether it causes diseases in people.
People have pointed to this idea that 5G emits this harmful radiation, right? What is that radiation that 5G gives off, and how does that radiation work?
Nobody can transmit at any radiation power as they want. There's a lot of regulatory work out there. There's loads of bodies which make sure that nobody is surpassing any of the limits which have been set. And these studies have been conducted and they've been updated all the time. We had all these discussions every single generation as 3G came along, 4G came along, now it's 5G out there. And I have to say that we as a telco industry probably should have done better.
If I can cook chicken in the microwave, I go, well, if a microwave can do that, and if a military system can do that, why couldn't a tower that's designed for telecommunications fry a person's brain?
Yeah, I just found it on Amazon. I asked people, I'm not a scientist, I'm not an expert. It's EMF detector, tester. And right now you see it's 0, which is really good. But now if I put it close to the screen, it goes up some.
Do you use any devices to protect yourself from EMF radiation?
No, I don't use any devices. A lot of these devices that people try to say will protect you, I think are total scam.
Snake oil.
Snake oil, yeah. Anytime there's a controversial subject, people distort the real evidence.
There have been theories about telecommunications, conspiracy theories for years. People stumble across some content related to 5G. It's really emotive, it's really visual in many cases. It provides a simple explanation for a confusing thing. And these are being seen on platforms which are designed to produce and get people to share content that they're likely to click on. The second thing that we've seen, and this kind of came from an investigation that I was involved with the BBC, is that far-right groups, we've seen kind of extremist and fringe organizations, using the fact that people are sharing COVID-related material, and obviously it's on everyone's minds at the moment. The fact that this stuff is shareable means that groups are using it to get their agenda across.
We've heard today of 5G masts being burned down by people who have read false rumors on social media.
I'm Katherine Collins and I'm Director of Corporate Affairs and Brand at Openreach. So Openreach is basically the UK's largest broadband provider. We're the national provider. Now we do have a small role in 5G because obviously we supply often the fibre that runs to, be it a 4G mast, a 5G mast. So we do provide some services to the mobile companies.
We have been seeing that people have been spreading messaging online that has linked 5G to COVID-19. How have you all responded to this messaging becoming more visible, and what steps are you taking to sort of distance the technology from this pandemic?
So we've predominantly relied actually on the government, who've been quite good about this in the UK. They've got a disinformation unit where they've been trying to work with some of the social operators to try and take down the information. Twitter have been really good. So obviously we're super concerned about it. We've had days of action where people have, tried to attack and burn down the infrastructure. I mean, some of this infrastructure also is supporting the health services. You know, we run 999 services. Some of the masks that were set on light were actually supporting some of the hospitals with COVID victims in. We've seen more cases in 6 weeks than we did in the entire last year in terms of any kind of abuse of an engineer. There was one guy, he basically had his van attacked. He had to basically shelter in his van. We had another guy, an apprentice in London, and he had someone spit at him who said he had COVID. Wow. He basically said, I've got COVID, you're killing us, and spat at the guy. It's been really quite extreme, some of it.
Are there, COVID cases in areas where there's 5G? Sure, there are, because simply COVID is now almost everywhere, and we do have territories where 5G is rolled out. But is 5G responsible? No, because we have a lot of evidence. There are loads of cities in the world and loads of countries which don't have 5G, such as Iran doesn't have 5G, loads of cases. Gateshead, the city where it all started, ironically, has a lot of COVID cases, has no 5G. So therefore, let's not confuse correlation with causality.
Are there any real world consequences to the spread of this information online?
I mean, that's kind of the golden question, right? We know that misinformation has in the past been used to kind of exacerbate social divisions. So there's a danger that it not only divides people from like the government and the health organizations, but also turns people against each other, splits communities in half and splits, populations in half, again, at exactly the time we need a kind of people to pull together socially to, help solve this crisis.
Technical problems too, so.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
I had all manners of difficult problems. I'm good. Good.
Good.